Well, welcome to another edition of My Life in Football, and I'm really pleased to say that we've got Peter Brown with us. Of course, and Peter, he's smiling from ear to ear because, of course, Chesham chairman and also champions as well. So, congratulations on that to start with, Peter. And I mean, how does that all feel at the moment? Is it sunk in yet?
It feels great. It's still not fully sunken in as to where we're going because there's lots of plans now to be made to the next league up where we're going to and everything like that. But it's a wonderful achievement for the club. It's a wonderful achievement for the town. And of course, the response we've had within the town to the team this season, from a good start to the season to the end of the season, is our gates are 100% up on last year because of the success of the team on the pitch. But the team on the pitch isn't just about 18 men and managers and coaches running around on the green stuff. It's all the grey stuff that's behind it, behind the steam, with the directors and volunteers and staff and everyone like that has worked incredibly hard to get the club to where it is. And it's been a wonderful ride. It's been a roller coaster, but it's been great fun. It's been happy times, and we are languishing in it all now and thinking, oh, this is wonderful. We're wallowing in the glory of it all, but reality comes back, and next season's not far away. And so it's a matter of now finishing off the celebrations and then saying, right, come the middle of June, the players will be looking to coming back together. But in the meantime, the board and everything, we're working very hard behind the scenes to progress the club forward in a way. And although the managers have made great signings on the pitch, I've made some pretty good signings into the boardroom in the last 18 months, which I'm justifiably proud of.
Good. And I mean, some big names in there as well, in the likes of Torquay and people like that that you'll be getting to play. That be very, great days out.
Great days out, great weekends away for some, I expect. Someone might want to go down on the coach and stay for the weekend. Well, that's up to them. But we're not going to rely on British Rail ever again. I can assure you.
Bournemouth, Boreham Wood and places like that as well.
Yeah, it's local. It's a lot of our travel is, we got a couple of long trips, but most of it is very local.
Yeah.
Apart from down onto the south coast with a few down there. But basically, the mileage will be vastly reduced compared to what it is in the Southern League.
Yeah, and you got the nice trip down to Truro as well, because of course they're going back home as well.
Well, allegedly, yes. We're all going to be changing in porter cabins apparently and everything. The pitch will be ready, but that's about the only thing, I think. So it's going to be an interesting scenario to see whether it will get ground grading approval for us to travel there or wherever the Nomads will end up at. But wherever they do, I wish them good luck with their new stadium and new grounds, because that's obviously very much a strong picture of ours at the moment, is to move to new facilities.
Mm-hmm. So Peter, where did this wonderful journey of yours start off? So I mean, was you playing when you was a youngster? Did you go to games with your parents and stuff like that? I mean, where did it all first start? That your first experience?
It all started basically with the village side, supporting the village side, and then finding out that my father in the Royal Navy played for the sixth destroyer flotilla. And he was left wing, and he had a certain midfield player that was passing the ball to him, and he said to him, where do you want me to run? He said, don't worry, wherever you run to, I'll put the ball on your foot. And that certain player was a man called Jimmy Dickinson.
All right.
And I was just impressed. And my mother's got a lovely story of Portsmouth at home to Cardiff in the First Division in the Navy days, when Pompey was full of 50,000 Matlows chinging and cheering. And she from Cardiff, 7 months pregnant with twins, and Cardiff scored in the 70th minute or something to go on to win the match 1-0. Of course, she's the only person cheering, and they're all asking my father, who is this woman? And he said the immortal line, don't know, I've never met this woman before in my life. But football's been ingrained in me. We had a great growing up in our village. We had a great gang of people around us that we played sport, football, cricket and everything, always outside. We were just outside in the fresh air and living in a small village, a small hamlet in the Chiltern Hills. Very, very secluded, very private. And we just had great fun investigating the whole countryside. But sport has always been there, playing football for the school under 11, to the senior team at the school, at junior school when I was 8 with my twin brother. Going on to senior school, but not surviving and being good enough for people there. Reformed the local village football club. Played and earned some of this money where you find a 10-bob note in your boot, those sort of things. But reformed the village club and just did it, but all in the background. I've always trained to be a referee at 16. and just enjoyed the game and being a team member, and progressed and loved it. Wasn't ever good enough for going into senior football, only if I could referee. And when I refereed, I was very fortunate to get to a senior level, which I immensely enjoyed because it was fun. And some great stories from senior non-league. My last game was St Albans were away at Yedding Football Club, and Yedding were winning 3-0 on a hot May day, and it was beating down, and it was really sweaty. St Albans were playing tippy-tappy football, and Hayes and Yedding much more direct, 3-0 up. St Albans go in 4-3, and they were doing a competition on the pitch. Whoever called nuts first would get bought a pint in the clubhouse. And I was in line for 5 pints, but I couldn't, because I was, every time it was happening, I was really enjoying just saying nuts when something happened like that. And everyone said, you can't, you're not allowed to enter the game. But it was a great end of season, great fixture, great end of my career in refereeing, arthritis ruining everything, and then got involved with Watford Football Club, with the Supporters Trust.
So with the games though, I mean, when you know, sort of early doors with the games, can you remember sort of any sort of big, you know, games? What was your team, and what was the team of you and your parents? What was the game that you did, you know, the team that you'd go and see the most?
I went to see in 1963. My first game I went to see was Watford at home against Luton, and Watford were going promotion and lost. But you get the buzz. You got the buzz. It was during the really awful end of winter. And then went to watch their next game, which they lost, and also they didn't get promotion. So I thought it was a bit of a Jonah. And being local, this area, local to Watford, we used to go there frequently. But my main team has always been Leeds. First football match I ever saw, all the highlights, was Real Madrid, Eintracht Frankfurt, Scotland, and saw the highlights. And this Real Madrid football was something I'd never seen before. My father said, this is the way football could be played, and it should be played. And then a guy called Don Revie took over Leeds, and I was reading a paper or listening to a radio interview or something, and he said, I want to turn Leeds United into the Don Revie. Don Revie said, I want to turn Leeds United into the Real Madrid of British football. And I thought, I fancy about that. So I've been a Leeds supporter since very similar times, you know. So I just love football. I love sport. I love all types of contact sport and team games, not an individual, but a team game. Useless at darts, useless at snooker, but sports, football, cricket, rugby, love it.
So with that game that you went to see Watford and that, I mean, playing wise though, I mean, for the schools and that, I mean, what was that like? You know, playing with your mates and playing with the
Great.
playing for the school.
My best memories were playing with the local youth club team and winning and playing in the under 16 or the under 18 leagues as under 16-year-olds we were, and under 17-year-olds, and beating the under 18s and winning the league. And that's some great games of football. I remember when I was coming up to 16, we were playing the last game of the season we needed to win, and I played and I felt awful. Went and took my GCSEs for the next 2 weeks, and found out that the night of the football I was suffering from German measles, feeling absolutely crap and awful. But you just went on the pitch and we won the game 1-0, and it was brilliant. Had some great village football games. We had one wonderful game where the league insisted, our pitch was notorious for flooding, like this season lots have been. And he said, I don't care what happens on that fixture, you're going to play this game. And I'm not joking, on the edge of our penalty area, there was a puddle that was 15 metres wide in circles. And when you walked in there, you were up to halfway up your shins. And the referee said, I've got to play it. And so we played it. But every time you went in there, the ball kicked, or someone kicked the water, it hit your chest, and you lost your breath because it was so cold and everything like this. And we won the game 1-0, where our goalkeeper kicked it off. Another guy in the midfield headed the ball on, and the centre forward, before it hit the floor, volleyed it, and it hit the back of the net, and we won the game 1-0. But I mean, it should never have been played. It wasn't suitable for water polo, real football. But fun, great fun. And going to the pub afterwards, and the social ambience of it all was just fabulous fun. And it was a great learning experience, and of learning about football, about running of football, which puts you in good stead for the later lives when you're.
Yeah, so I mean, you said you were 16. You know, you decided to sort of look at refereeing, and you know, and so I mean, sort of you've played a little bit of the game, and then decided to go. What made you decide to go and be a referee?
I knew I wasn't going to reach a long way with playing into football and everything like that. But I thought there was a good way of getting a long way in football was through refereeing, and I enjoyed the game so much that I made a point of, I was known as Advantage Pete, because I wanted to see the game flow, and only and made it better, and just enjoy the game. And everyone goes in there to watch the game of football. They don't go in there to watch clogging. They certainly don't go in there to watch a referee become the centre of attention. So it was a great experience and great teamwork, and to be a referee and to have linesmen and assistants and be part of that was wonderful, because it made you understand the game a lot better. But the only thing you had to learn is you had to keep moving, not like in football where you can stand still for 5 seconds while the ball's down the other end. As a referee, you are constantly moving.
So I mean, with it, can you remember how nervous were you? When you've done your first game, I'm assuming your first game would have been like a youth game or something along those sort of lines.
Yeah, it was a local youth game and everything like that. I came off afterwards and thought, blimey, I was so far out of place and so far out of position. I've got a lot of work to do. It's a new thing to do, from playing either as a winger or a midfield player or a central defender or a fullback, where you're designated sort of areas. This was where my designated area was corner flag to corner flag, and the linesmen on the right wings and the left wings, and everything like that. So it's totally alien, but it was hard to start with, really hard. But the more you did it, the more you got into it, and did the local Sunday league football, and then progressed up through the refereeing ladders, thinking I've got to achieve at this, becoming a Class 1 referee, and then going on to senior football on a Saturday and everything, because I got a serious injury which stopped me playing football completely, but it didn't stop me running in straight lines. But cruciate ligaments weren't repairable when I did mine. So that was in a cup final. So refereeing then became very serious from the age of 27 onwards, when I got my fitness levels back up to run straight lines and to enjoy it. Put something back.
Did you actually sort of referee before you took the test as such? Did you referee? Because I know myself, I used to referee like for my youth team, and other people used to ask me to referee for them and stuff like that, and used to do that. And then you're doing okay with that, feeling really, really confident. And then, of course, then I went for my test about 3 or 4 years later, and went for the test with my daughter as it happened. We both went for the test on the same day, and when they both passed. And of course, then when it came to the next game, when you was actually a proper referee and all the rest, and you passed all the the exams, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Oh, I was more nervous than I've ever been refereeing in my life, because all of a sudden you got the I used to always wear like a black t-shirt and black shorts or whatever else before the test, but now all of a sudden you got this badge on his shirt, and he was like, I don't know, this is an all different game. But it wasn't just the fact that he was really, really nervous, and you didn't learn really anything other than what you did before.
You walked onto the pitch and thought, what have I let myself in for here? Particularly half time you come off, you think, I didn't enjoy that. This is not for me. I'm not enjoying this. It was totally alien. But I thought, no, come on, you've got to put your mark on the game and just play within the laws of the game. There's only 12 laws. It's quite simple, but it's made complex by legislature that doesn't understand the game or the feeling or the wants, needs of football in any way. And I don't know if I could referee at this level these days, because of what they're trying to impose on referees and everything. It's just no common sense is allowed anymore, unfortunately. But it was fun, and advancing was great, going up the scales and going up the levels and going on to more senior and senior leagues and ending out. I was at one great experience was I was refereeing Leatherhead reserves, and Chris the Lip Kelly was the manager of Leatherhead, and he was on the sidelines. And this guy came in and he took a fullback out, and absolutely took the advancing fullback out a treat. But the ball broke to the winger, and I waved play on the wing, and he was going absolutely ape on the sidelines, completely ape at me, giving me verbal. I'd never heard such words joined together. The centre forward, the winger went down the line. He smacked it across. The centre forward came in, smacked a great header in the back of the net, and then I went running back to the injured player and stood by the injured player, called the player that caused it all over to it, and he by now he'd run around the pitch, and he was 5 yards from the touchline, giving me complete hell. And I just let the player stay there that had committed the offence, and they didn't do anything. I said, when this player is sorted out, I will then talk to you, but don't move. And I had to go to Chris and say, look, Chris, Give it a go, give it a rest a minute. Let me get this sorted out, and you'll see what I'm going to do. So anyhow, the player then got up and he got fit and everything like that. I then produced a red card, sent the player off. At half time, Chris, he came running up to me on the pitch, and he said, "I'm really sorry." He said, "You played a great advantage." Thinking I was in a no-win situation, but all of a sudden, even the great Chris Kelly agreed that I'd done something right. So made you feel good.
Did you ever have any instances? I know I did, two or three that were really, really sort of bad experiences, and two or three really good experiences. But I mean, did you go through any of that yourself? I mean, I had a situation where, you know, kids, you know, an under 11s game were being pushed and shoved. And abused by the opposition players and opposition spectators, and actually being pushed to the ground and all this sort of stuff. And I abandoned the game and got rocks and cans and bottles thrown at me as I was going off the pitch and stuff like that, you know. And you know, there was some, you know, I mean, one of the games I think I remember was, it was a cup quarter final. I think it was only under 10s, you know, in a small sided game, and it was 0-0 between the top two in the league, playing fantastic, you know, really, really good. I was going to go to a penalty shootout, and it was literally on my watch. I think it was about 4 or 5 seconds to go. Kids run into the box, and the goalkeeper's come out and just wiped him out completely. Because you had to give a penalty, and you can imagine, you know, the uproar. Do you know what I mean? Giving a penalty that late on, and you're standing there waiting for this penalty to be taken, thinking, "Miss, please miss." Please miss in your head. Do you know what I mean? And the kid rolls and puts it in the top corner. You know? But it was. Did you ever have any incidents?
I had was an incident where it was in the Hearts County League, and Bovingdon were playing a team, and this team were all over Bovingdon and thrashing them, absolutely thrashing them. But they were full of arrogance, and there was a couple of the players there that just wouldn't let go and kept getting on at me about anything. And they were 6-0 up, you know, 15 minutes into the second half. And this guy kept going on. I said, "I've had enough now." Called the captain over, said, "I've had enough. He's going to get a caution for dissent." They went apoplectic at me. They were going mad. All the players were crowding around and everything. I got the player's number. I got his name off the team sheet, and I abandoned the game. I went to the Hearts FA, because it was all called before the Hearts FA abandoning a game and everything like that. And they were outside, and the Hearts FA came to me and took me into the room and, you know, protected me from them. And you find out that this player that I was trying to caution was suspended. And I couldn't book him because his suspension would have come up, and they were going ape about that. And they got fined, they got thrown out of the league and everything. And I was escorted off the premises through these people who were giving me hell for just doing my job. I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't in the wrong. I was the one on the receiving end of all this abuse, which, you know, referees get. And it gets to a point you just say, "I've had enough of this. It's going to stop now." And someone took the kettle off, you know, and it blew. Everything blew around me, and it was a horrendous experience. So I learned greatly from that I was then always said to the captains for the game, "I don't care what you do. If you use commercial language, that's not a problem. You use it against someone, that's a problem. You use it against me, that's a severe problem. But just don't get on at me, because I'm not interested. I'm not going to change my mind because of what you're going to say to me. Just get on with your game, and I'll get on with mine." And it worked to a degree. So I learned from it, but it was horrendous. It was awful. Football, side of football, I didn't like to see it, and wasn't enjoyable at all. But then the last game, it was brilliant with the St Albans and the Hayes and the Yedding players. It was just a brilliant game of football and great fun. End of season, nothing at stake, but there was the winning of the game, and it was just all in the right atmosphere and the right thing. It was a shame to retire at that date.
So what would you have said was some of your highlights in your refereeing career then? I mean, how long was you actually refereeing for?
I refereed for 10 years into senior football, and at 37, my knees just gave up with chronic arthritis, and you could fry an egg on at the end of it. And I just said, well, and I got a young family. I had an excellent career, and I couldn't take the time away from it. And so I had to move away and say, "That's it, I'm going to move away from it," and everything like that. And basically, I spent then my time in the local community, running the local village hall, running the parish council, things that weren't that, being chairman of the football club, chairman of the Sea Cadets, and, you know, just trying to do things for my community, putting something back in because I'd been away from it. But I got fabulous support from my then wife and family for doing the refereeing and everything else, so that I could do these things and achieve what I did. I wouldn't have done it without their help. But it was great fun. But then, what was it? Always been following Watford, chairman of Watford Supporters Trust for 12 years. Loved it, being involved with the club, going through the very grey times. and meeting some very strange people in senior football. And the guy that took over Watford, he came up to us and he had a front man, Bassini. And the first impression I had of that man, the hackles were up and everything like that. And I said to the vice chairman, Jeff, he looked at me and I looked at him and I said, I can't trust this man. I've got no trust, no faith in him whatsoever. He is full of blarney. He's licked the blarney stone and he'll do nothing but any harm to Watford. And Jeff and I were of it. A few of the others said, I'll give him a chance, give him a chance. But it proved to a fact that the guy was, he was a convict and had a different name he was coming out with now than what he was when he was arrested and put in prison for fraud. And that was an interesting times. It gave me an insight into senior football and sitting in on a couple of board meetings there as well. Meeting the people behind the scenes at Watford that loved the club dearly. And then you see why the club was going where it was going, because there were genuine people there and I was there the day when Watford nearly went bankrupt at 10 to 9 in the morning, buying it off Bassini. And if it wasn't for another person that gave Bassini extra money, that club would have gone into liquidation without a shadow of a doubt. But there was one that came in just to get rid of Bassini and let him go away. He damn near killed the football club, and it took a lot of getting back from. And I've enjoyed the Pozos ride. I think it's been brilliant for football. The way they've done things, it's totally different. It's continental. But then Chesham came along and said, "Can you help me?"
So in that time, when he was doing stuff for Watford, was that the Elton John time as well?
Oh God, it was fabulous. Yeah, I joined the board in 96, 95, 96 at Watford, the Supporters Trust Board. I had a fabulous time. But Bassini was very close to killing the club dead. And you understood what was happening and attending board meetings, and he couldn't make it. He was always too busy somewhere else. And there were some angry people around. I met Graham Taylor on quite a few occasions, who I've read his book more than once and used a lot from his book in the model we're putting together at Chesham United, because he does good things and we do basic things down there, follow that way. I think the words that resonate so much with me is when he said, when I first went to Watford for an interview, I saw a dark, dirty, rundown town, Watford. And he said, I'm leaving Lincoln, which, because we'd done so well at football, was full of vibrancy, brightness, was on the up and everything like that. And he was then convinced by Elton John in his house to join Watford. But that's what I've sort of done with Chesham, is to say, well, we've got to be in our town, in our community, with our people, which we are brilliantly. And we've now got a great board. I've searched around and found some great signings. I didn't sign our managers. I was on the board when the managers were appointed, which was a great decision by the board, our joint managers. But I suppose my best signing has been Alex Horne. He's been laid back, total respect, totally relaxed, but so sharp. He is one of the nicest guys you could meet, and just the enthusiasm he has for non-league football, the love he has for the game. And this, non-league football is so much better than the crass of the Premiership. There's much more social interaction between us all. I could walk around the crowd and I'll take any criticism in the world as long as it's constructive. Laugh and joke with all the supporters, because that's the way it's to be. And Alex has just brought a new level to it all, and he's now been checked over and found to be a suitable person to be involved in football. For the first time in his life, he's had to go through a rigmarole of the FA to be employed. So we could have him as a director. But it's great fun. Non-league football is great fun, but always remember, at the end of the day, everyone has to go home happy. Yeah. And if you can't make them happy, then what are you doing the job?
I mean, when he was at Watford, did you get to meet Elton John?
Oh God, yes, I met Elton once when I was at Watford, because he was there. The year he became life vice president of the club and everything like that. But Graham Taylor was chairman of the board. He didn't want the Supporters Trust involved in running the club in any way, mean or form. He said the Supporters Trust is there for the supporters, not for the running of the club. And I can understand where he's coming from. We have a Supporters Trust that's active at the club there, and they've got shares in the club, and they're entitled to see certain reports, which I give to them, no problems. But you have to take an impartial view of running a football club. And I can understand now where he was coming from at the time. But it was great to be on the board and listen to what was going on, and understanding senior structure, which gave me great insight when I became finance director at Chesham. And he said, we're hemorrhaging money. Can you find it for me and stop it? Okay, let's see what we can do. And Brian McCarthy, great chairman with his knowledge of football, unbelievable knowledge of football, and knowledgeable of everyone, and everyone knew Brian. And we worked together, and we found out that the bucket where the money was going into had this hole in the bottom that was bigger than the bucket going in at the top. But it became a colander, and gradually we welded up the bottom and everything like that, so that within, 6 years of becoming finance director, we came into a position where we were getting close to self-sustainability without Roger, who's been so supportive of me as the owner, on that way. And now for the last 3 years, the club is totally self-sufficient. Roger doesn't have to put his hand in his pocket. I don't have to put my hand in the pocket. We've now got the club into a position where it can stand on its own 2 feet. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way you can run non-league football. Mm. So a great insight from Watford. I'm really grateful to their honesty, and showing me and let me listening to how they were doing things. Mm.
What was that like, though, walking in there and seeing, the great man Elton John in there, and even people like Graham Taylor? I met Graham once, but I mean, somebody like Elton John's sort of like an iconic figure, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? So
totally, but he's so approachable, and when he knows it's to do with the club he loves dearly, he will talk to you. He's got more knowledge of football than most managers, I think, to be quite honest. The way he talks football, the way he talks to people about football, when you listen to his interviews, he knows so much. And he had just this incredible relationship with Graham Taylor, and just incredible. And talking to Graham about the relationship, he said it was something he'd never experienced in his life. The warmth of the relationship and the honesty between the two. I was saddened when I saw the film, that's the infamous scene of where Graham Taylor said to him, "I'll resign. You've got a choice to make up between this," and slammed a bottle of whiskey on the table and me. That was never shown in the film, but it's in his book and everything like that. And it woke Elton up from where he was. But this open relationship they had was just wonderful. And it's the relationship I try to have with everyone within the fans, the supporters. They're not fans, they're supporters. Fans blow things around the place, Graham Taylor. Supporters are there as the basis of it all.
Do you still get a chance to go back there when Chesham are not playing?
When the Chesham not playing?
Yeah.
I've been to one midweek game this season, that's all, because we've just been involved in so much, and with other things that I've been doing with local charities in the town. Pushing the name of Chesham United, which means you've got to volunteer and help local charities so that people understand where you are. And of course, now we've got this local charity match coming up again, the Alex Horne Football Meets Taskmaster. It's an experience that I saw last year and roared with laughter and thoroughly enjoyed coming away. It's the best football match I've ever seen, because I've never laughed so much in my life.
I knew it was coming up because Alex was, of course, on TalkSport the other night. And I turned the car, I got in the car, turned the car on, and the radio came on, and I thought, I recognise that voice.
Yeah.
I think it was on Hawksby and Jacobs, maybe. And
that's right, he was.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, of course, then there was Alex talking about that and talking about Chesham and all the rest of it on there. So, I mean, that must be fantastic too, even though it's, it's a charity game as well, but hearing your club being spoken about in that sort of, I don't know, such a big sort of programme on national radio as well, it must be fantastic.
It's been immense. I mean, he's probably, I mean, you listen to Chris Evans' show now on most of the time in the week now leading up to the event, and we're mentioned nearly every day because because Alex's wife is involved with the Chris Evans show and that, and Alex has been there, and Chris came last year and couldn't stop laughing and enjoying it, and got on the pitch at half time and did some entertainment because he's a great entertainer. And it's just that everyone wants to be part of being part of Chesham. The supporters want to be part of it. Everyone wants to be part of it, because this guy is promoting us in such a positive way and making it, well, if you've got anything in life, if you've got humour in your life, you're a lot happier in your life and your aspect. And Alex has bucket loads of it.
Have you bought your tickets to his tour?
Oh gosh, yeah. Have you not seen it? Oh, the Horne experience. He did the first night down at the football club,
right?
And I have never seen someone being sick in my life, but very close to it, having to audience participation. Yeah, I'll take part, this person said, and he had to eat a bag of frozen peas. I roared, absolutely roared with laughter. And there was great music, great humour. We had one of our supporters whose daughter goes and sings on all these cruises and sings in the West End and everything like that. She came and did 2 numbers on stage as well. So it was a variation of it all. But the music was just brilliant. And it was just wonderful. And we had 100 tickets that we could sell. And they were gone within 3 hours. And we only sold to club members. We didn't open it up to the public in any way. So hopefully he's coming back at the end of his tour, at the end of November, which we'll get 140 in there. And we will have, it's just a raucous night. And if you want entertaining with good music and comedy, because, I mean, one of the players there, the saxophonist, he plays with Robbie Williams. He's in the backing band of Robbie Williams. They are professional, brilliant musicians, but great humour.
I mean, one of the things I suppose on that sort of side with celebrity wise and stuff, when you was a referee, did you ever get to referee sort of like a celebrity match as well?
No, I never had the chance. Never had a chance. The biggest match I ever refereed, I suppose, was Johnson Peter were doing really well one season, and they played a team from the Norway Professional League, the 2nd division of the Norway Professional League, and that was football of a standard that I'd never seen before. These Norwegian players, and absolutely thrilled. I mean, there were 800, 900 people in Johnson Peter's ground for this friendly, and one of my assistant referees didn't turn up on the night because found out 3 days later he'd had a heart attack. But I'm the last person to know that someone's had a heart attack, so we got a last minute in from the crowd to do it, and had a great night. It was wonderful to see those people being happy, smiling, the quality of the football, and the endeavour of the British football against the continental football, and seeing the vast differences between the two, but how they were each fighting each other in their own way. And everyone was playing with a smile. And it was just wonderful. I had a great night. One of the best nights of my refereeing career, that was.
I think the reason I asked that question for as well, because I had an opportunity, I had a phone call just out of the blue one. I think it was a Friday night. Asked if I would go because we live in Waltham Abbey, and Rod Stewart lives not far away, and got a phone call to say, look, Rod was having a game. Could I? The referees pulled out. Could I go up there and referee it? And I've just always been honourable, where if I've accepted a game on the Sunday, then I'll do that game on the Sunday. And it was a kids under 10s game, just an ordinary kids under 10s game. Or I had the opportunity to go up to Rod Stewart's place to referee a game up there, and I decided, look, to be the honourable thing and say, look, sorry, I can't do it because I've got a game, under 10s. To find out the following day, the likes of Anton Deck, Robbie Williams, and all these people.
Oh, gosh.
And then sort of vice versa. I was refereeing in the morning, and I got a phone call from Harlow Football Club, and they said, "Oh, can you come down and referee a game this afternoon?" I said, "Who's the game?" It's just a couple of teams, just a charity game. So I went, "No, that's not a problem. I'll go down there." And when I get there, I've got myself and 2 really young sort of linesmen that because I used to be referee secretary for the Harlow Youth League, and I'd managed to get them to come with me. We get down there, and it's a West Ham Legends 11.
Oh, wonderful!
Against the Celebrity 11, and I'm standing there in doing the toss and all the rest of it, and all I could hear in literally behind the back of me, all I could hear was the noise. Oh, 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 oh. And I'm thinking, I recognise that. Well, turn round, it's Frank Bruno, and he's,
oh my gosh,
what is going on here, and there was like the legends at man. Some of these guys that were playing for West Ham, a couple of them there. I think one was George Parris, I think his name is.
Yeah.
A huge guy he was as well, like at the back, and he looked like he couldn't even run properly, and he's pinging these sort of 60-yard balls to feet. Just incredible stuff to sit and watch.
Absolutely, yeah.
Unbelievable.
I remember meeting Frank at our village fete because he was at Champneys, which is nearby to us in Wigginton. And someone found him and said, "Oh, would you like to come to our village fete and open our village fete?" And he came down, and it was like looking at a man mountain.
Yeah,
it was huge,
massive,
massive, and that the size of his head. You just look at it, my God, what it was just, well, it was awesome. Someone that man could make someone so big.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, so delicate.
Yeah.
He was so delicate in his touch. He
Yeah.
shook his hand, and you thought, well, he's going to crush me, and it was just like a normal, soft handshake. No aggression in him whatsoever. And he has been the world's biggest boxer. But that yes, yes. It takes me back to Bellingham Ashridge Village Hall fete by a long way. Yes, that was a
So we was doing stuff for Watford and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So did you have a little break then before you got the chance to go to Chesham, or was you in there and you decided to get up for that? And also as well with that Chesham sort of job coming up, did it take a lot of thinking about before sort of taking on board?
No, not really. I mean, Brian, I'd done a lot of advertising and a lot of sponsorship and support of the club, like my company always did within Chesham and always does and still does now. Not just with Chesham, but with local charitable events and everything, yeah, to support our community and everything like that. And he phoned me up once and he said, can you come down to the club? I'd like a quiet word with you. So I said, okay. So I went down there. Wasn't offered any alcohol at all because Brian didn't drink. It was a cup of tea in the boardroom. He said, you seem active, you're a businessman, you run your own business, you're in financial services. I need a financial director. Will you come on board? And the ego in me couldn't say no. Truth be at it, because he said, and then he explained what was happening. And he said, you've got the finances, you need to look at this. And Brian was actually beginning to get little, when I look now, he had the signs of dementia then, but you didn't realize it. Not until it really hit home. And it just helped. And then I remember the first year was the FA Cup year when we won at Bristol. Oh, it was just amazing to win 1-0 at Bristol Rovers. You're thinking, oh, this is that. And that was the first year the chairman didn't put any money in, and all the money that came into the club was refurbished into the clubhouse and the facilities of the club. Yeah, the players got bonuses and stuff like that, but it's mainly that way included. I wasn't involved in paying the players. I was more involved in the commercial side of the club, running the club and seeing where we get business from and trying to, stop the leak at the bottom. For the first 18 months, I'm thinking to myself, what have I let myself in for here? This is totally different and totally alien to professional football I've seen. And I thought, well, let's make a go of it. And we started investigating and finding things and stopping things and making things happen. And everything was going along the right lines and everything like that. And then that wicked thing called COVID came along. And Brian, because of his mature years, was suffering terribly with dementia and saying things that were socially acceptable to Alf Garnett, but not socially acceptable today, Yeah. And it were funny things to say, but when he said it to a couple of players in the club that were coloured players and said this comment and everything like that, you said, it can't go on. Yeah. We explained to the players and the players said, look, we know, we can see it. It's not the Brian we knew 2 years ago. But Brian was then sort of removed gently from the scene. So we had a board meeting and I generally wear a hat, and they said, right, we've got to appoint a chairman from within this board here who's in the picture. Now, I'd had conversations with Roger prior to it and everything like that, being finance director and everything like that. Gave my CV of my own business and where I've been chairman of councils and village halls and youth organisations. So I understood what chairman was being about and threw my hat on the table and said, well, I'm in for it. And Roger appointed me that night, and he phoned me the next day. He said, do you know what you let yourself in for? I said, well, I think so. And he said, you haven't got a clue, have you? I said, no, not really. So we had a long chat and a long thing. We started working together. COVID closed the season down completely and closed everything down, and we were getting all these grants. Remember, as finance director, I was getting all these grants all over. The club was profitable because it wasn't playing football.
Yeah.
Which was ludicrous. And then we started playing football again, and then we got closed down again. And the nightmare of when we played Torquay in the FA Cup, was it the FA Cup or the FA Trophy? We played them on a Saturday when the government announced on the Thursday that from Saturday onwards, no live games, no live audiences and everything like that. If the government had noticed on the Wednesday, we could have said to Torquay, come up on the Friday, we'll play the Friday night. And we'd have had thousands in the ground as the last chance, but we missed that opportunity. And yeah, just enjoyed it. And then Roger developed got diagnosed with cancer, and he put it all on my shoulder. He said, go to it. And every time I wanted to do something, we would sit down and we would chat and talk things through, because I'm totally open with him, and say, I want to do this and the reason I want to do this. And I think there's only one thing he's ever objected to me doing, but he agreed eventually. And now he says it was a good decision, but he was worried, was having new floodlights put in. He didn't want the new floodlights, and I said, "But it would help the players to be seen, because it's like a dark, like a coal miner's lamp power lights." And we've got the new floodlights in, and we funded it and everything that went with it. But everywhere else, he has been a magnificent, supportive owner of a club you could ever wish to. for 2 years he was out of the system, wasn't allowed to meet with people with all the chemos and everything he was having. So I was very fortunate that I had so much power offered to me, and he saw my vision, my dreams, my thoughts, and he could see where they were. There were times when he modified them, which is what I was looking for him to do anyhow, because I just knew the brute things about it, but he knew the football inside because he'd been in football 50 odd years, so we're a good team together, and we've appointed more directors on the board now, and we've now got an incredibly strong board, and we're working really hard. We've got this lady that does our commercial work for us 12 hours a week, who does a fantastic job on the commercial income. She's nearly tripled the commercial income from when she took over to where it is now. And of course, businesses now want to talk to us, and we want to talk to them because we offer our facilities to the businesses at very economical rates, so they can use it as promotion for their companies. And Bucks Mind as a charity, it's all community orientated, and the only way you'll get success is to be in your community. And now we are in our community, and we're a community driven club, and that's what our new stadium's all about, to give the community a decent facility where all these kids can play football safely and securely, because the big word in football and children these days is safeguarding. We take them to at the moment they go to all these village, council run pitches and everything like that, which are open spaces. And if you've got 16 kids playing a game of football, you can't keep an eye on everyone, and they have to walk into the woods to have a quick wee or something like that. There's some idiot in there, and you lose one kid. It's just unacceptable. The risk levels are too unacceptable. So you're having extra people there, whilst at the new ground with stadia, with with everything about it being secured fencing, no one can get in. They're totally safe. We've had 20% of the youth matches called off this year on the local council pitches because of the rain and the weather. Forecast is warmer winters, wetter winters, so the pitches are going to be just as reliable next season and for the next foreseeable future. We go with 2 artificial pitches, those pitches will always be playable constantly, apart from severe frost and severe snowfalls. Well, we're not going to get those, not when it's been so warm. We get hailstorms, but we don't get snowstorms so much now. So
how close? I mean, how far down the line are you for?
Well, today,
whereabouts is it in from where you are now?
We are. It's only a mile and a half, 2 miles away from the club. The council were adamant that we were in the centre of the town and we were moving to the outside, and it's something they didn't like, until they came down to the club and I pointed out to them, see that lovely field out the back beyond us? I said, yeah, that's Chesham Town Council land. See that field beyond it? Yeah, well, that's Chartridge Parish Council. Oh, is it? I said, yeah, we're on the periphery of the town. We're not in the centre of the town by a long way, because Chesham is like a timepiece. It's got a bulb at one end and a bulb at the other end, and this narrow valley covered with massive hills either side. So you can't play football going up hills or down hills. So the only flat land available is on top of the hills, which we found the land. We've got the land. We've got the promise on the purchase of the land. And we've now the council have a mind to approve it, providing we come up with all the answers to everything. And by Friday, we should have all the answers for the council to go to them and say, you wanted this, here it is, here's the proof. And then we move forward, and we've got the local Muslims and the local societies, the local Polish societies wanting a 200-seater sit-down room where they can sit in. And we've said we wanted 2 stories for this reason, so that they can be upstairs having their weddings or their social gatherings and everything like that, and we can be downstairs playing football with all the supporters using the club bar downstairs. And they said, this makes common sense. There is nowhere in Chesham where you could sit 300 people down to, to sit down, 200 people down to sit down for a sit-down meal. And all the Asian people are going to Slough or various places far and far afield for their daughters and their husbands and their sons to get married. They want the local facilities, and it would be good for the town. It would be a community asset. And Bucks Council haven't invested any money into Chesham. Their plan for the next 3.5 years is no money from Bucks Council gets invested into Chesham. The only way you get investment in is from the private sector, with selling our ground, building the houses, selling the houses, building the new stadium. You're talking £50 million of investment in the town, close to the town, where they don't need large car parking areas, because you only need one car, because you can walk everywhere. We're on the Met line, not far away, and get people to start using their feet again instead of using cars to travel to central areas. So we're close. By Friday, we should have all that information then to ready to submit to the council and saying, there's our answers. Let's have another meeting and see where you want to go from here.
Mm. So I suppose the other question, I suppose, for us as well is because we've spoken about Alex as well involved in the
Yep.
club. I mean, how did that all come about in the first place? How did you manage to get Mr. Taskmaster himself down to Chesham?
He's always down there, and I was talking to Tanya, the bar manager, and I said, "I've got to find Alex Horne. Where is he?" He said, "He's generally out there, just along by there, and you'll see him on that spot there." So I said, "Okay." So went outside, and he had his two boys and a lady with him. I didn't know who was at the time. At the end of the match came when I was always towards the end of the game, walking around the crowds and that, and I went up to him and I said, "You're Alex Horne, aren't you?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "I'm Peter Brown." He said, "I know who you are." I said, "I have a question to ask you, Alex." "Oh yeah, what's that?" I said, "I think it'd be great for the club if you come onto the board of directors. Would you come onto the board of directors, please?" And without flinching, he said, "I'd absolutely love to." And I went, "Wow, fabulous. Right, I'll get some paperwork. Let's go and have a chat." We had a chat. We sorted out addresses and everything so I could get paperwork to him and everything. Went up to Roger Payne and said, "Roger, I've just got a new member for the board." He said, "Who's that?" I said, "It's Alex Horne, Taskmaster." He said, "No." I said, "Yeah, he's a supporter out there and he's willing to come on the board." And he said, "What's he going to bring to him?" And I said, "A different way of looking at football, a different way of looking at life, and a different way of doing things, which we're all footballing people, but he's got so much experience elsewhere
Mm.
that it's an area, it's a well of information of everything that we can use to make this club better." And it inspired Roger. So, "Okay, go for it." So Alex then had to do the fit and proper person application. For the first time in his life, he said, "I've been called fit and proper." And he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant, and he's just done a press release in the Independent. They questioned him about non-league football and Liverpool. He's a Liverpool supporter. He was in where was it? He was in Istanbul in 2005 when they won the European Cup and that. And he said, "Why Chesham?" He said, "Look, I can come here, I can walk here, I can bring my dog, my three boys play for the youth, I can have a few pints of beer, I can walk home afterwards, and I can socially, my wife, who I've now met as his wife, that was the woman with him, she never watches the football, they're all just talking to each other, doing
I'm
things."
glad you cleared that up. That
Yeah,
was
I cleared that up. Yeah. She's lovely. She's absolutely lovely. Well, just like Alex, it's just wonderful to see. And the boys are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. They're boys. They're nothing, there's no egos about them at all. Just because this is that and Dad's famous on telly as Taskmaster. It's just what we want at Chesham. We're just ordinary people, really, trying to make good a promise that I have an adage in life, and brought up with my parents who were wonderful parents. And they always said, I said, "Well, why you do this or why you do that?" He said, "Well, just to make the place a better place for others. I can give a little bit of time." And I've used the adage in my life that the only way to come into this world, you come into this world as one way and you go out. And I just want to say at the end of it, I've left the world a better place when I came into it. And that means you put effort and you put time and you put energy into doing things that not just for you, but for others, so that others get that benefit and that advantage. And it's been a wonderful ride. And I've loved being chairman at times. I mean, the pressure this season at times has been immense, but it's been a joyride compared to other seasons. Compared to COVID, it was a nightmare.
So what was the plan when you sat down with the managers at the beginning of the season? I mean, did was the plan for you to sort of, what shall we say, walk away with the league almost?
No. Well, no. The plan was, it wasn't at the beginning of the season, it was the end of the season. The night we lost 1-0 to a deflected shot in the 121st minute in the playoffs. Talked to the manager and I said, "This is gutting, this is ridiculous." And Roger was by the side of me and he said, "This is ridiculous. We can't afford to bugger about anymore. Let's have a proper meeting. Let's sort out and let's see where we can go. And let's just do something different next year. Let's have a chat." And so we sat down with the managers and said, "I want a guaranteed playoff this time, not a struggle to get in at the last minute." And the object is to be a top qualifier of that, finishing second so you get home advantage, because it's massive in the playoffs. And we had this amazing start to the season. Then we lost players with injuries and other events. So from the beginning of the season, the first the last training session to today, we've lost 6 major players from our club with injuries and other events. And they've got out and replaced them, and they've had a run in the FA Cup, and we've used that money in the FA Cup to supplement the playing budget to make it happen. But we started off with a very, very small. Chesham is not a big payer, and you can ask anyone. We don't pay big money to players because, you know, it's play for the club, play for the managers. Well, they play for the managers because they're a good couple of managers. And we just increased it and said, look, we will do this, and we kept our promises to them. You do this, we will reward you with it, of which we have done so. And to walk away with the league, as you rightly say, was an incredible achievement because it was experienced good football. Instead of having a load of kids out there, we had, you know, they recruited extremely well during the summer, changed the style of play of the club completely from where it was from the 4-4-2 to the 5-3-2, with the 2 fullbacks charging forward. And it made a massive difference. And with the experience out the back, and probably one of our players of the season, who's retired again. He's 38, but he's had a magnificent season when he came in. He couldn't even get into a level 5 team, but we've an old player of us and we had an injury crisis, phoned him up, and he's been outstanding. But it's just the experience of these centre-backs together with adventure and youth and getting new recruits in when you've lost players and everything like that. And it's been a joyride.
I mean, you talk about, you know, calling somebody off the bench and stuff like that. I heard a story last night. I was doing my live show last night, and we had Great Wakering Rovers on the show because we were in the Vars final, and their manager was actually manager of Basildon, and he played Great Wakering in the first round of the FA Vars, and he actually brought himself on as player manager, and he came on and actually played a couple of minutes in that game. And of course, now, on May the 11th, they're in the FA Vars final, and he's cup-tied himself, so he can't play.
Hey, great story. Great story. That's what football's about. What happens in football. I think it's brilliant, stuffing like that. It's great stuff. It's the way it should be. You can't write it. You can't. The best comedy in the world is situation comedy of situations that have happened. That's why you look at Fools and Horses and programs like that. It's because these incidents happened in the writer's life. And they're the great comedy. That's the great comedy, not the jokes with the abuse and the foul language. It's the storylines. It's the story jokes that are the best jokes, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's a great story.
But I mean, to finish off your story today, I mean, the question would be: what was the game this year that won you the league? You know, for those that don't know, and also as well, you know, from the 41 games that you've played league-wise, and of course cup games as well, what's the one, you know, overriding memory or that you're going to have from this season? What game was the game that, you know, you enjoyed, and you had something from that game that sort of you'll live with for the rest of your life?
I think it has to be it's a very topical subject, is the replay in the FA Cup against Braintree. 1-0 down in the 93rd minute, and corner comes across, it gets flicked on, and Kieran Murphy, who's 38, comes in and smacks it in the back of the net, and you're going, this is the FA Cup. And an excellent crowd of 800 in the ground, under lights, football. That's where football is good. It's good. And then going and winning, taking the lead and becoming 2-1. You're thinking, this is special. And then Zaki, the keeper, saving their penalty. And then the corner in the last minute, which has been done to us more than once this season, where we've been chasing a victory or chasing a draw. Everyone's in our penalty area, it gets cleared, and we go the other end and score into an empty net, and it's 3-1, euphoric scenes. And everyone went, the magic of the FA Cup. That was a magical night. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's got to go down as one of the great nights of the club. The FA Cup tie against Maidstone, 3,000 people packed into not packed, in the spaces on our ground. We could have got 5,000 in. It was quite simple, but restricted to 3,000 by ground safety rules and everything like that. It was another great day. And then the last game, when we won, actually clinched the league. We'd had a tough game against Hayes on the Friday and got through 1-0, which meant see what the results happened on Saturday and what we needed to do on the Monday. All we had to do then on the Monday was win because of the results that happened on the Saturday. We went to Harrow. We let them have one of our players early on in the season, who part of the agreement was he wasn't going to play against us, but we agreed for that game. Yeah, go on, you can play against us. Why not? It's it's football. and you've been there long enough and everything, you're getting a game, he won't come back to us to play for. And then finding in the 6th minute that he scores against us and we're 1-0 down, you're thinking,
Oh no.
what's going to be happening here? This is
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. But it was just the great composure of the team and the management and everything like that, where they've also got a new coach in Lee this year who's been absolutely brilliant for them, absolutely brilliant as a coach for them. And they just stuck at their task and they got a goal, and it was Kieran that scored the first goal, and then Kieran scored the second goal. And you're going, well, this could, from the nervousness, you're beginning to feel quite comfortable in your seat. And then you try to get it back in the boardroom at Harrow, and they won't let you go anywhere until all the players are off the pitch. And stuff. I'm the chairman of the club. I want to go into the boardroom, please. No one's going in here, You're looking for the Jobsworth hat to put on the guy's head. And then the 4-1 victory, to walk around with the fans and seeing 500 fans travel to Harrow, and giving them the biggest gate, was just a euphoric night. Without a doubt, it's a night where nothing sank in. We all go back, we were in Harrow, and then we all went back to Muzzer's father's local pub, and they will be warned of it. And it was just a cracking night. And the landlord was saying to everyone the next day, we were Cheshire United in it. What a brilliant load of people they were, well behaved, celebrating, enjoying the victory, but no nastiness, no aggravation, no nothing, apart from the lovely Lewis dancing on the table, was told to get off it. It was just a great night and a great feeling. It wasn't. And we came home with Roger, and I sat in the car when we got in my driveway. I sat there. I said, "Well, that's it, Roger. We're champions." And he said, "It's hard to believe, isn't it? It's hard, Where's a official league table? I can say that no one can catch us, because you're still looking at it, thinking, well, there must be something there." So it was a great night, and it was wonderful. It goes down as one of the great nights.
Well, what I mean, just to sort of elaborate on that a bit, it was a little bit of a shame that it wasn't in front of your home crowd. But what was that like the following game then at home? Of course, 5 days later against Salisbury, and you get the 2-1 win. Then what was the atmosphere like on that day?
The atmosphere was electric.
Back in front of fans.
Yeah, it was great. We had a gate of over 1,000 genuine supporters in there, not artificial supporters from the youth or anything like that. We've got season tickets free. These were people that all paid to come in. 1,300 people in the ground. Great game of football. Salisbury played really well, and we played our usual game and came from behind and won the game. And it was just a great game of football. And at the end of it, the Salisbury people were wonderful. The players were magnificent. Congratulated and everything that went with it. It was just an awesome day, and all the supporters were just all around the ground cheering and clapping and everything. And yeah, for the first time in many years, and you're probably going back to the 40s, the club has had league gates of over £1,000 for 3 games on over 1,000 people. Of over 1,000 people consecutively for 3 consecutive games. And the last game there was 1,500 in there against Bracknell, but Chesterfield haven't won a game, or hardly won a game, since they won the championship, since they won there. And it's the same with us. It's the edge goes off somewhat. The task's done, but the job's not finished, if you know what I mean.
I suppose last thing to ask you, do you want to go out with a bang now, away to Gosport at the weekend?
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Ian and what he does at Gosport and what he has done. He's a great footballing chairman, knows his football inside out, obviously being the next chairman of Portsmouth, and he's just a genuine African. But it'd be nice for our supporters that are travelling down for that game to come out with a bang and saying, yeah, we want, and we've got to put our best into it, because, other people are relying on us being what we are, and doing things like that. So we're treating the players to an executive coach so that they can get used to it, because if we go to Torquay and Truro, it's not going to be by train, it's going to be by proper transport, which means executive travel. And to Eastbourne will mean executive travel, without a shadow of a doubt, because they need the extra comfort, which is the way it's to be. So I would like them to, go out with a bang and to do that. But let's see what happens on Saturday. But it's going to be a great end of season anyhow, because Ian's a nice guy, and it'd be nice to sit down and share a glass of red with him, like he comes to our club and says, well, the only thing I ever get at Cheshire is a decent glass of red wine. So
of course, in that game as well, of course, Tottenham are away to Dorchester, Salisbury at home to Hanwell Town, and of course, Gosport could, I suppose, looking at the Salisbury game, hoping that Hanwell can get something out of that, because they want a home tie in the playoff semi-finals.
Yeah, exactly. And look what Dorchester's done since he's left Poole, took it over in there. And I mean, give them if there'd been another 6 games to the season, they could have been challenging the playoffs. It was a fabulous job at Dorchester. So that's not going to be an easy game for Tottenham by a long way. When they came to our place, they were magnificent in their appreciation of better team won, you deserved league champions, well done and congratulations and everything like that. But yeah, it's been a great season. Will we emulate it? Who's to know? Who's to know? Look at the recruitment for next year. Look at the managers. Let's just make sure we stay in the green for the next at least 2 years, where we're not in any problems, and then hopefully by then we'll have a new ground, so new facilities, new finances, and everything that goes with it. Where do you go from there?
Absolutely, and you've only got to look at Averley to see that. Getting up and they're in the playoffs. They have a chance to get into the Vanarama National League next year. So
exactly. But that's what it's all about. Is to aim. And of course, when you're designing a new stadium, you're designing 2 leagues above. So when we started this process of a new stadium 5 years ago, it was to get into the National League. But now you're saying, right, okay, we've got to get into that league. We've got to design now to be a Football League club. Not that we'll get to the Football League, perhaps, but the facility has to be there if the possibility arises.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all we need to do now is for the FA to actually realise they've made the biggest mistake in the world, and to say to everyone, hands up, we didn't really think about this. We didn't consult enough. Up until the 3rd round, there will be replays in the Cup.
Absolutely.
They're the earners.
Yeah.
They've got to do something.
Yeah.
If they're there for the people's game and looking after the people, they've got to do that.
100%. Absolutely.
Irrespective of what the top 6 clubs want, because they play so many games in Europe and everything like that. But you can guarantee there's no replays. But at the end of the season, they'll be in the Far East for 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
America for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Thinking, hello.
Yeah.
We'll go on these tours then and give them the rest.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. But Peter, a massive thank you for joining us today for this, and of course we'll have the joys of hopefully having Alex do one of these as well in this series as well. But a massive thank you for that. A massive congratulations to you and all the directors and everybody down at Chesham as well. And we wish you all the very, very best going forward into that Vanarama South next year.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking forward to represent the Southern League in a strong, positive way for next year. And yeah, it's a massive step forward for the club. But thank you for what you're doing for the Southern League with all your coverage and your non-league football coverage. It's always good to manage to get 5 minutes or 10 minutes of listening to what you're doing and who you're talking to, and listening to the views of others, and to say, oh, I could use that, or I could do that, because we're always looking for ideas. So thank you very much for the time you put into non-league football, because non-league football is brilliant.
No, thank you. Thank you, Peter.